Welcome, audience. I'm Braulio Rosa, Executive Director of the Broward County Bar Association, and it's my honor and privilege to have Judge Jackie Powell with me today here in celebration of our BCBA and 17th Judicial Circuit's Black History Month. Judge Powell, welcome.
Oh, welcome. Thank you, Braulio. Thank you for having us today.
So tell us, Judge Powell, tell us when you first joined the bench and were you appointed or elected, and what was that process like?
Well, I was elected to the bench in 2018, and the process was difficult and tough. Broward County is a large county, and so that entire campaigning process was long and arduous, but also exciting. It was exciting getting to meet all the wonderful people of Broward County, all the different areas, all the different cultures. My eyes were opened being on the campaign trail, learning about some things in some places that I drove by almost every day and didn't realize that there was a church here, that there was an association here, that there was a club there. And so it was an eye-opening process for me.
I can imagine, running for election is not easy in such a large county. So,
yes.
What divisions do you currently serve in?
So I currently serve in the county civil division, and specifically in the small claims credit card divisions. When the jurisdictional amount went up for small claims, realizing that there was going to be an explosion of the cases, the leaders came up with creating that small claims civil division in 2020, last year. And so I took over the division this year, 2021, in January. And so that's where I've been. But since I've been on the bench, I've been in different divisions already. I started out on the bench being the first appearance judge. So I was the first appearance judge for 2019. And then 2020, I was one of the satellite county judges at the South Satellite Division. And then this year, I came into this division.
I must admit, I enjoyed seeing video of you on the first appearance. So you were always very graceful during those difficult times.
I tried.
So Judge, tell us where are you from, your family, and what was your upbringing like?
So Braulio, I was born in the island of Jamaica and lived there until I was 16. So for 16 years, I was, and everyone always asked me what parish, and I was not a country girl. I grew up in Kingston, and that's all I knew. And so folks like to drill you once you say you're from Jamaica. I was like, I don't know anywhere else. I know Kingston. That's where I was born and raised. Of course, in later times on vacations and stuff, I have gotten to visit other parishes, but while I was living there, that's all I really knew. So I grew up in Kingston. At the age of 16. When I was 16, my family migrated to the United States, and then we lived in Queens, New York so I lived in Queens for about 6 years before I moved to South Florida. And not for any reason. I was just young and trying to explore everything. And my husband, who was my boyfriend then, had gotten a job in South Florida, so I moved to South Florida. So that's how it was. My family is small. We're not big at all. And the one thing that for most of my 16 years, my mother was a single parent. So she was very strict in everything that she did. She always tried to tell her children, you've got to stay focused. You got to get educated. You have to live a better life than I'm living. And so she did everything in her power as a single mother at that time to make sure that happened. So when I say my upbringing was strict, It really was island strict. It's like, you know, you went to church, you went to school, you participated in whatever school activities there were, and then you came home, and that was it. And then you studied and you did house chores and whatever. And so while we were in Jamaica, that's how it was. And I understood why she was like that. But then when we migrated to the US, we realized that, you know, you have to expose your children to so much more. And so, you know, she started allowing us to do much more, participating in other school activities and church activities and going on trips and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Kept you on the straight and narrow, didn't it?
She did.
And now I'm guessing I know where you honed your singing skills. In church choir, probably.
Definitely. Definitely.
Right.
We sang in the choir. We either, you know, as a child, every child who grew up, whether, you know, my friends would say, I don't have a singing voice. They don't care. You joined the choir. You sing in the choir. You did that. And then, of course, as I got older, I did enjoy it. So I continued to do it. So
that's how my daughter got her start. I mean, she sings too, and
yay!
It was at church choir. That's where she started.
Yep.
So, yeah, definitely. So talking about Jamaica, which is a perfect segue into cultural diversity, do you believe it's important to have a diverse bench that really represents the populace of the community?
Most definitely. We need the diversity. It helps to, you know, when folks come before me on a regular basis, like now I find myself, and I probably shouldn't put this out there, but since I've started it, now I'm gonna have to say it, because I tell the mediators in my courtroom that I am going back, because it's not that I didn't learn Spanish when I was growing up, but I never took it on as I should. And so now I'm going back, and I'm trying to hone in my skills on the conversational Spanish, just so that I can be at least in the basically have a conversation with folks that I get almost every day in my courtroom. And that kind of that's a good example of how much diversity is needed on the bench, right? I envy Judge Leday, who can speak so many languages. And then I've sat in Judge Florence Barner's courtroom and heard her speak Spanish, Creole, English, and a little bit of something else while she was there. It makes such a difference. And I remember before I took the bench and I was observing in Judge Barner's courtroom, and I reminded her of this story this past weekend, that a guy came up and he spoke Creole, and it seemed like it would have been a difficult situation, but then she spoke Creole and he calmed down and everything went well. Another guy came up and he spoke Spanish, and she knew enough Spanish to be able to have that conversation with him. He calmed down, resolved the case was done. The next guy that came up was an English speaker, but he came up and he literally said, Judge, I've watched you in this courtroom speak Creole, Spanish, English, Ebonics, everything. She said, I am not going to give you any trouble because I realize that you understand what's going on with everyone. And that's really what it is. We need that understanding. And even if you don't speak the language, to be able to communicate with people socially, we need to be able to understand what's going on. When you come from a different background, you see and explain and experience things differently. And if you've never experienced some things, a lot of things, I am grateful that I've experienced moving from Jamaica to the United States, has helped me to be able to communicate socially and emotionally too with folks. So it's very important that we have that on the bench, because so many different people cross our paths every day as we sit in court. And it is important that we understand culture, that we understand language, that we understand, customs. Sometimes folks respond to you in court because of the type of customs that they have. I can see it when the Haitian speaking community comes, they say my honor, and is how are you doing my honor? And I soon realized that that's a cultural thing, and that's how they speak. And so just even simple things like that, it is important, definitely, that we have diversity on the bench.
Before you became a judge, what kind of lawyering did you do?
Lots of it. So I started out my career, well, even before going to law school, I was a paralegal working in a local firm here in Broward County. And that firm handled Section 1983 civil police misconduct cases, and also, all the murder criminal cases. And so for 10 years, I was a paralegal in that firm, participating in that, and got that experience. I remember trials in front of the late Stanton Kaplan, and me sitting at the table there with them, managing exhibits and all this stuff. And so I got that experience. When I actually became an attorney years later, I started out at the Broward County Public Defender's Office, and I was there for almost 8 years. So I did everything, starting out in misdemeanor, then I went up to felony, and then I was a supervising attorney for the county court judges a few years later. And then when I left the public defender's office, I went all the way 360 degrees to civil. So I went into civil, and I started doing civil litigation, and did that for about 5 years, and got tired because I was with a firm that practiced all over the state of Florida. So we were constantly traveling and going to trials. So I got a little bit burnt out from that. And so then later on, I opened up my own firm. And then I started doing family law. And then I did some, at the time, the only criminal work I would do was juvenile. I would represent juveniles in criminal court. So the spectrum was broad. I did criminal, I did civil. I didn't do too much work in federal court, but, got a little bit of the writing end of that. And so that's how it started, and that's how, and so that's why when I took the bench, it was not difficult for me to pivot wherever they wanted me, because I had that experience on both sides.
Wow, I didn't know that you started off as a paralegal. So true success story. You started from the at the entry level and worked your way up.
Definitely did. 10 years. So the firm, actually retired judge, now retired Judge Mark Gold and his wife, Barbara Heyer, they were the attorneys when they were that I worked for many years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what motivated you to change your path? You were obviously successful as a lawyer, and then suddenly, okay, I'm going to be a judge. What was that something that moved you?
I don't think it was suddenly, Braulio. It was always something that was in the back of my mind. But there were also the question. It was in the back of my mind, but there was also the questions and the doubts about, can you really do this thing, and can you attain this thing? And as I looked around Broward County, I was looking to see all the people who'd done it. And a number of the Black judges that were already on the bench, they were appointed. And I was like, okay, so maybe we have to go. So trying to figure out, in trying to figure out which route to go, either by appointment or by election, I was now running my own firm. And so when you're doing that, you do have much more time that you can manage to figure out and to go to the different events to figure out what you wanted to do. And while I was running around trying to figure out and trying to do my legwork, I realized that there were, I think in 2018, when I ran, there were more than 5 positions where open seats where judges were retiring. And so I figured that would have been the best time. I had already done the practice. I was doing a lot of work in the community. I figured that I had the temperament because I've had to deal with all these different things, along the way. And so I figured it was time. It just from the experience and the time that I'd put in, that it would be a good fit for me at the time that I ran.
What advice would you give to an aspiring minority law student or a young lawyer that one day wants to be in your shoes?
Get involved. Get involved with the bar, the various bar associations that are there. Get involved with your community, get involved. I think what we do a lot of times, someone told me one time during the time that I was running, that it's not only money that you need to win an election. As a matter of fact, the person said more than money, you need votes to win an election. So if you're going to run, and certainly if you're going to go the appointment process too, you need to know people, you need to know what it is that is required of you. You need to know what it's going to take. And so I tell folks all the time, you've got to get involved, you've got to get out there, and not just for the selfish reason of, okay, people have got to know me, so when I'm running, but genuinely get out there and get involved. We need to, when we're talking about diversity, we need to see more Black judges, Black attorneys, Hispanic judges, Hispanic attorneys, Asian, Haitian, everybody. We need, the cultures need to see us out there. And if you're not out there, then people don't know who you are. And when you get ready to say you're going to run, the question is going to be asked, who are you? And I thought I was out there and doing a lot of things. And when I got ready to run, people were still asking, who are you? So you need to get involved is my most, the best advice that I could give.
And for those young folk out there, I can confirm that you definitely are involved. Anytime I ask, you're helping us provide education, and I see you at our events. And so that's wonderful. And it's sad when I see not too many, but just a few who suddenly come out, and it's like, oh, okay, you're running. Okay, I get it. But so talking about that advice, tell me what qualities you think are best suited and serve a judge.
Well, first of all, you have to be flexible. I told you since this is now my third year on the bench, I've been in 3 different positions. So you have to be flexible. There's no way you're going to go in and say, this is what I want to do, and this is only what I want to do. That's not how it works. Okay. Then you have to be teachable, because you are going to go in and there are going to be areas of the law that you haven't experienced, and you're going to have to learn. And yes, there is judicial college, and it's just like going to any college. You get all the knowledge, but then when time comes for you to use it and for you to rule on it, it's a total different thing. And the facts are never going to work out the same, and the people are never going to testify the same way. So you have to be teachable. And then you definitely have to have that temperament to be able to deal with different folks as they come. I am in small claims court, and so every day I am dealing with self-represented litigants, and they take the self-representation all the way up to trial, even up to appeal. And it's a thing where every day I have to be patient. I have to remember, this is what's going on. I have pretrial conferences 3 times a week, and I see 300 people per day. I could see 300 people per day on those days, and 95% of them are self-represented. And so you've got to have that temperament to be able to, it's not, now that we're in the Zoom world, it's not just turn off your microphone or put your phone on mute or turn on your camera or, join the breakout room that I'm sending you to. It's even with the law, it's even, you have to have that temperament. So I say you have to be flexible, you have to be teachable, you have to have that temperament, you've got to be patient, and then you yourself have to be willing to be open to things that you don't know, that you don't understand, and then figure out, even if you have to rely on your colleagues, how to work through it. So those are the main things that I would say.
It's a lot. You have
It's
to have
a
a
lot.
lot of talents people don't realize to be on the bench. It's not, I can only imagine it's not an easy thing.
No.
No. No. So from the substantive and harder questions to something lighthearted, Your Honor. So if there were to be a biopic produced about Judge Jackie Powell, who would Judge Jackie Powell choose to portray her?
Most definitely. I've been told many times that she looks like me or that I look like her. I don't know which way it is. But there's that serious side of me. I think a lot of times I have to mentally remember that I'm not all serious. And so there's that serious side of me. And then I have to adapt to whatever is going on. And I think that Viola Davis would do me justice.
Yes. Okay, I'm glad you held it back. Wow. Okay. I think that is a perfect fit. Okay.
Yes.
Boom. Drop the mic. We're good. Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm speechless now. I just perfect landing there. It's I see the connection.
I know.
I do. Well, Judge, thank you for taking your time. I know you're super busy right now, and as always, I enjoy talking to you, and I'm grateful for the support that you provide to the Broward County Bar Association and our legal community here in Broward.
It's my pleasure, Braulio, and thank you so much.
Have a wonderful holiday season.
You too, my friend.